What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Landaris. You already know. You see me. L&L Line Service, Kansas City, Missouri, Blue Springs area. Back at you. Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you a little about customers and what you got to condition them to realize that the days of cheap lawn care is no longer here. That's if you want to stay in this business. It's no longer here. You're not getting anything cheap. Just like we can't get anything cheap as a consumer, you can't have your business doing cheap work because the customer thinks that that's what should be the price. That's not the case anymore. I got a customer that reached out to me. Now, last year I did, so I don't know if you recall me stating something in one of my videos where, I had somebody helping me out. It was at the tail end of the year, and the guy was sitting on sitting on a little bit of an acre. Now, as you know, an acre goes from $100 all the way up to $200, and that depends on the severity of the yard, the trimming, if it has gates, if it has hills, the terrain of the turf, things like that. There's a lot of things that come into play when dealing with, when you start looking at an acre or above acre yards that you put in consideration as determining what your price is going to be. Now, that's a nice little range from $100 to $200. Okay? You should be able to charge between that. So, last year, at the tail end of the season, I had a helper with me, so I was trying to keep them busy. Keep the yards, keep them busy, and keep them having hours and stuff like that. And of course, tack on a little bit of income at the end, So I didn't mind giving this guy a lower price. I was doing his yard for what was it? I think $75. Remind you, this is an acre. $75 per week. I dropped it down from 100 to do it for $75 per week. And then every 2 weeks, I jumped up to, if you wanted it done every 2 weeks, I jumped up to like $120 or something like that, right? So, after I got rid of my helper, I had to do a couple of cuts. And I sprayed the fence line to kind of cut out a lot of the trimming. But still, you still got to take that in consideration as spraying and things like that. So that's what I did. So I started cutting the yard. And it's not hot outside. It's at the tail end, of the season. So I probably had maybe 2 months of cutting for him. All right. So when I was cutting the yard, once you get back out, now it's different when you got a helper and they're doing the work. My helper was able to look at the schedule, jump in the truck, and go do the routes while I was trying to get more customers or work on other things, stuff like that. Okay? So, but when I had to jump back in the truck and start doing the yards at the tail end, got a truck coming over here. At the tail end, I I said, man, if I do this next year, I got to give him the real deal price. So they called me up, asked me when I start, and I just said, hey, you know, last year I was trying to keep my guys busy. I gave you a cheaper price. It was at the tail end of the year, and I stated that him being on a little bit over an acre, that the average acre for a professional lawn care to cut is between that $100 to $200. And for this year, 2024, your price has been adjusted to $135 per visit. Per visit. Sometimes you gotta say per visit. Once you get to these acres, I don't say weekly or bi-weekly. I do per visit. So anytime I go to anything that's over an acre, my language is per visit. So every time I step foot on your property, this is what I think this yard is worth, whether it's a weekly or bi-weekly. And I also stated if it gets more than 5 inches or more, where I have to either double cut or whatever, prices will be charged accordingly to, you know, the height of the grass, depending on how high it is and how many times I gotta cut it. So I don't leave that out either, because you'll have some customers that'll call you in a month. So some customers try to flip-flop. They'll say, oh, you know, I'll say, hey, you're on a weekly schedule. They be on a weekly schedule. They say, hey, my grass is not really growing. And they'll do this when it's in the middle of the season. My grass is really not growing. Can you come next week or the week after? So they try to push you back 3 weeks or something. So if the grass is not growing, then, you know, 2 to 3 weeks is not really a big deal, but it is, because you never know. Sometimes customers end up trying to put some fertilizer on their grass, and you come back to it, and next thing you know, it's up there, and you're double cutting. That's why I always put that little clause in to say, hey, if it's more than this such and such, you know, inches, then, and I have to double cut and spend extra time on your property, I'm gonna charge accordingly to that situation. So, like I said, I told the customer that, and I said, hey, you know, I charged you a cheaper price last year, but this year is going to be $135. $135. So if this fits your budget and you would like to continue service with us, please feel free to let me know or text me, and I'll put you on a schedule right away. And that's what I did. So he's either going to call me back, and every time I go to his property, I charge him $135. If I wait 2 weeks and I still go to his property, I'm going to charge you $135. Because his yard is all open, all flat, but you still got to do a good amount of trimming around the front of the property. He's on an avenue, so you got to make sure the grass on the outside of the sidewalks are edged and trimmed. That's in front of his property. So that's some extra square footage and extra trimming, and go from there. But all in all, if you have to adjust your prices, this is the best time to adjust them in the beginning of the season, because everybody's looking for work. You're busy. You're starting to get calls come in. Don't worry about if you're going to lose them or if not. I had another customer. She wanted to stay on bi-weekly, but 1 year I was charging her for weekly. I was charging her $50 for a weekly. And then the next following year I did her yard, and she said that she was on a bi-weekly, and I fertilize, oversee, aerate her yard. And I know for a fact, if you doing all that to your yard, I'm not coming to your house bi-weekly because your grass is growing too fast with being fertilized. So your grass is constantly growing. You don't have any weeds. So there's no way I would have charged you, told you that you was on a bi-weekly. So I didn't want to argue with the lady, the customer, or nothing like that. She's an older lady. She kind of forgot that she was on a weekly schedule. So I did it for the bi-weekly price last year because I had a helper. So I wasn't really doing it, but at the same time, I was still wanting that bi-weekly price. But since I wasn't cutting the yard, trying to keep my guy busy, I just said, forget it. I'm not going to sweat it. We'll still cut it. And this year, I was telling myself all at the end of last year, that's not going to fly this year in 2024. So she called and asked when I was going to start service and everything, and I told her that her price is going up for weekly. Here's your weekly price, which is what it was last year, and here's your new bi-weekly price, which you want to be on bi-weekly if you're going to continue to stay bi-weekly. So she didn't want to go with that price. She said, this is what she said. She said, oh no, I can't afford that. I got to find somebody cheaper. And I get it, but I got to find somebody cheaper. That's exactly what she said. So I said, okay, it is what it is. I'm not going to sweat it. But yeah, guys, stay firm with your prices. Stay firm if you're jumping into this business. Stay firm with your prices and what you're doing. That's all I got to say. It'll help you out in the long run, and you won't be battling with customers as far as you feel like you're not making enough money. You got to start looking at your numbers, seeing how long it takes for you to do some of these yards, see what it is you're making for man hour, how long does it take you to cut the yard, and if you got somebody that's working with you, you put that responsibility on where you would like to have more work and keep that guy busy, because now you're responsible for this guy because he wants to work for you. He wants to earn some money, so you want to keep him busy and keep you making money and have him being able to make money at the same time. So you got to have your prices up there where you're making money and your helper's making money at the same time. So that's the biggest cost, is the labor. Labor is the biggest cost, so you got to be able to make enough money to pay your helpers. So, all right, guys, that's my time. I'm heading over to some properties to cut. I got an estimate to do today. Squeeze that in there. What's today? Today's Saturday, the 30th, before Easter. So, hope you all have a nice Easter, and I'll get back with you on the next video. Like, subscribe, leave your comments, hit that bell button. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe right now. Like right now. Go ahead and subscribe. I'm waiting. Thanks. Alright, like, subscribe, leave your comments, hit that bell button.